Today I'm going to show you how to cross over like the best pro players are in 2019. Coach Jesse Muench with Get Handles Basketball. We train harder and smarter so you can play like the pros. If that's something you're looking to do, subscribe and click the bell icon to catch the newest videos. So you might be saying, Coach, the crossover is the crossover, right? You just put the basketball from one hand to the other. Yeah, but within that, there's a lot of things you can be doing with your body, your footwork, your ball positioning, etc., that can help take it next level really quickly. These are things that the pros have started adding to their game to take advantage of defenders and give them something that they're not used to seeing. So throughout this video, I'm going to give you a bunch of variations that you can use for different game situations that you can count on and know that you could beat your defender and possibly break some ankles. The last move is my personal favorite, so you'll definitely want to check that one out. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a way to have some deadly combo moves with these moves. So the first crossover I'm going to show you is a little bit more advanced. Some of the other ones will be a little bit easier to get down as we go further into the video. This one is the crossover step back. So lots of footwork involved in it. We're gonna go crossover and start moving this way. So you've seen a lot of guys probably do this. James Harden does it, Kyrie Irving does it, Steph Curry, a lot of the best pro players got this. They go crossover, and as the ball's floating in this hand, they're gonna start moving across in this direction to make it seem like, okay, I crossed over and I'm coming this way, but they're gonna bounce right back out into a step back all from that float. So you wanna make very certain that you're not picking up the basketball too soon because you might get called for a travel. So you want to float that dribble, push out, and then have both hands come on the basketball. So it's going to look like this, okay, and going right into the shot. Crafty way to make your defender think, oh yeah, I'm crossing over, trying to beat you this way, and at that same instance they start going that way, you're creating a lot of separation for easy shots. This is actually the same move Kyrie Irving used to break the ankles of Brandon Knight. Next crossover is really deadly for blowing by defenders, but click that like button if these tips help and leave me a comment, say this helps. The side shuffle into the crossover. So you'll see like Russell Westbrook do this a lot, Steph Curry a little bit, Kyrie Irving does this a ton, he'll do his a little lower, Westbrook does his a little higher, Jamal Crawford does it without covering quite as much ground, but the idea is to shuffle your feet sideways, okay? Now, if you watch like Westbrook when he does this, he'll actually cross his foot back and then here, but the big key is he doesn't actually have this foot and this foot on the ground at the same time. As this foot's coming across, this foot's gonna pop into the air, and then this foot's only on the ground. At one time, you only have one foot on the ground, so you don't want to be here because that's how you could trip up over your own feet. When he'll do it like that. And you might be wondering, well, why would you want to cross your feet? And the answer is pretty simple. If you do it that way, you can cover more ground. But if I'm trying not to cross my feet at all, I only get a little bit of movement this way. Kyrie Irving, he'll do his a little lower, but he'll really kick this foot in towards this foot and displace this foot so it allows him to bring this foot across a little further. A couple different ways you can go about it, but the idea is to get some movement this way. So now your defender has to shift. They have to react, right? If they don't move with me, I can just go. So obviously they're gonna move with me, boom, all I gotta do is push the ball across into that crossover. Great way to beat some defenders. Leave me a comment, let me know what NBA player you think has the deadliest crossovers. Next cross is something that the pros have been using more and more. It's definitely not new, but you're seeing it being used a lot more. And it takes advantage of something that a lot of times players are taught not to do. You're usually taught to keep the basketball in your hand for the entire dribble motion as much as possible on your crossovers, on your regular dribbles, everything, right? And keep it tight to your body, because otherwise you're exposing it, right? If you have it out here, if your hand's not on it, it could get stolen, right? Well, again, this certainly isn't new. Guys in like in the 80s and the 90s would do this, but you're seeing guys do this a lot more where they'll throw the ball out more into their crossover. So there's a couple different scenarios you might want to do this. If you've got a defender playing you kind of tight and they're waiting down low for a crossover down here and you know you can get the basketball past them, a throw across is a good option. I'm going to give you some details you want to make sure you have in place with this in a second, but that's the first scenario. The second scenario is if you got like a bunch of open court, like in a fast break, or maybe the paint is wide open and you know you can get into the paint, that's another great way to use it. And you're even starting to see some guys, they'll use it in situations where there's maybe not a huge gap in the paint, but just enough where they know they can get the ball there and get their body back to it before anyone else can. It just allows you to free up your feet a little bit more to move more quickly. So it's great for really blowing by defenders, making sharp changes of direction, and moving fast. Big thing you'll want to pay attention to on it though is you don't want your hand to come under the basketball. So when I say the word throw, a lot of players, when I teach this to them in person, I think they literally think about throwing it and their hand will come under, and that's a carry. So you want your hand more right here on the side of the ball and slightly behind it, and then just pushing it forward and flicking that wrist, and that wrist flick is huge too. If you don't get that in, the ball might just go flying on you. This next one I'm not going to go too detailed in because I broke it down on my channel a couple times and it's been around for a while, and it's the sell. So it's like Iverson would do it from a hesitation, sell it. Sometimes you'll see Kyrie Irving, he'll get a little more movement and that shuffle into it. But basically what the sell is, it's like your crossover. The only difference is you're going to extend the ball out more at the end. You're going to step out a little bit more, and you're going to lean your hips and your chest and look in that direction to really help sell that fake. Now typically all your crossovers you will look in that direction. This one you're just using the ball, your foot, and your hips and your chest to sell it a little bit more. But you are seeing some guys use this nowadays to combo it in more with some of these other crossovers I've given you, and the thing I'm going to give you at the end of this video to combo with all these crossovers. Okay, this next thing, something that's kind of become a little bit more common in the modern era. Back in the day, players used to always dribble right around waist height for almost all their dribbles. Now you're starting to see guys dribble the ball up to about shoulder height, and also adding more hesitations and big sell fakes where the ball's kind of floating in the hand for a long time. But in the current last few, like 10 years or so, you're starting to see a little bit more of a mix, but I'd say more extreme. So the old era was more about like waist height. Now guys are doing like these really low kill dribbles, and you're starting to see that a lot more. It's going to be a kill cross. So you could do it as a double cross coming from one hand to the other, or sometimes you'll see them go from a regular dribble, kill it across. It just adds a different timing, rhythm, change of pace. If your defender sees you always coming here, floating, 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 they can expect when you're gonna do your move. But if you throw in a kill cross, it's gonna throw their timing off, and you're gonna be able to go when they don't expect you to go. So I recommend you work on doing that kind of a kill cross from a regular dribble, from an inside out, also from a double cross. You'll see guys like Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, James Harden, pretty much most of the best ball handlers nowadays using these changes of speed and rhythm with kill crossovers. Next crossover really plays on defenders' expectations of where you're gonna go with your crossover. Because for years, you were gonna do a crossover, you were always gonna try to make like this 45-degree angle change, fake this way, and then come this way, and then go past your defender. And that's just always how it was done. Defenders started anticipating that. So what offensive players have been doing lately is a crossover more into a side step. So really simple, all you're doing is crossing over and then shuffling from there. And that'll create a lot of times separation for you to get shots off, because you're coming sideways to the defender. Now you got that space. Or if your defender's not reacting enough, you could also get past them. Even if they're trying to close out but they're a second late, you can blow by them. Plus, it sets up a lot of options for you if they're closing out and they come too hard this way to cross back over this way. Now, I'm gonna give you something at the end of this video again that's gonna really help you, give you the right counter moves for this, so you have a way to beat your defender no matter what. I'm gonna make this next one quick because you probably know this one. It's the snatch back. Basically, whichever hand has the basketball, that same side foot, you'll step hard forward and then pull the ball back in the exact opposite direction. You can do this from a standstill to send defenders flying, or you can get a little bit of movement, a couple hard dribbles forward into it to really get that defender to go flying. Key thing I would focus on with this is really trying to get close to your defender, so you know you're just in space where you could probably try to fight to get past them, but it might be kind of hard. And then from there, when you get this last step here hard, they're gonna go flying because they're like, okay, I'm not letting them beat me. And then that's how you're gonna create a lot of separation, because at the same time they're going that way, you're coming back this way. This is great for getting shots off, and of course from there you could always just give a little hesitation, and if your defender tries to close out, beat them left or right, whichever's the best option. And then the last move is my personal favorite as of right now, but this always changes, so stay tuned to the channel as new moves come out that I might like more, and I'll break them down for you. But is the non-cross. So there's a couple different ways you can use this. You can do it just bringing the ball up the court to kind of add a sneaky change of hands that the defender might not notice and give you options to start getting past them this way. But you can also use it to throw them off by actually moving in the direction of the hand that has the basketball and switching hands while you're doing that to kind of put your defender in a predicament. Do they follow your body? And if they do that, then you just drive this way. Or do they follow the basketball? And if they do that, you can go into a bunch of counter moves, which you can check out in this YouTube video here. That's a bunch of between the legs variations. So like this video had different crossovers. Those are one dribble between the legs moves. You can combo those in with any of these, either before or after them, to give yourself unlimited counter moves and setups for these moves. So you always got a way to beat your defender. Click that like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon to catch the newest videos, and I'll see you in that video next.